After experimenting twice with AI image generation, I realized that AI services for easy use cannot generate images featuring real-life rolling stock. So, I decided to embrace this limitation and have fun visualizing an imaginative world instead. From a railway enthusiast's perspective, anomalies in the generated vehicles and railway facilities inevitably catch the eye, leaving a persistent sense of incongruity. However, when viewed without focusing on these discrepancies, I noticed that the resulting visuals manage to capture quite an appealing atmosphere. What is this elusive element that somehow captivates human eyes and hearts? In response, I shared my imagined scenes with the AI and had them visualized. The process mirrored the initial attempt, where the settings were described in words, essentially casting a spell for the AI to conjure up these wonderful images. Let's start by imagining diesel locomotives that were once seen in large cities. The setting is Japan, a bustling metropolis with electrified quadruple tracks lined by skyscrapers. A high-output diesel locomotive vigorously accelerates, billowing exhaust smoke skyward. Upon casting this spell, the results were impressive. The reference to Japan was reflected in the depiction, and the locomotive exhibited a DD-51-like flare. While one creation vented steam from its sides instead of smoke, the overall visuals convincingly conveyed the powerful driving atmosphere with rising black smoke. Since a DD-51-like locomotive emerged, I added new spells, red and gray body with white stripes and hauling a long freight train. The outcome reflected these elements remarkably well, even though the amount of smoke decreased slightly. What happens when the setting is changed to America? When I specified New York, the generated images showcased a remarkable transformation. Not only did the buildings reflect an American cityscape, but the locomotives and other rolling stock also adopted an American style. However, the tracks changed to non-electrified lines. Next, when the setting shifted to Chicago, the building style changed again, but the locomotives were of a similar type. This seems to be the standard image of American diesel locomotives. Finally, changing the locomotive to the steam engine Big Boy and the location to Utah produced this result. The background transformed as well, with double tracks featured. Impressively, even the shadows from the smoke were realistically cast on the ground. Next, I envisioned a scene of a rural town during the mid-Showa period, the golden age of incandescent lights. The spell I cast was, in the mid-Showa period, on a station front street in a rural Japanese town after nightfall, sporadic incandescent street lights are lit. In the distance, the station is visible. At the station, a three-car formation of old DMUs is at a standstill, its dimly lit passenger cabin filled with passengers waiting for departure. The resulting images captured an atmosphere reminiscent of local private railways, effectively expressing the ambience of a nighttime station. However, the station front street failed to appear, and the generated visuals focused solely on the station premises. Repeatedly changing random seeds and casting the spell yielded similar results. By omitting specific descriptions of the vehicles within the station premises, this was the outcome. The road seemed to feature peculiar tracks, as if a tram were running there. Next was a rural scene. I imagined a rustic countryside station with DMUs. The spell I cast was, at a station in a rural Japanese town, 5 passengers are boarding a 2-car formation of DMUs. Despite a surreal representation of Japan, the resulting images carried an air of nostalgia, evoking a feeling that such a countryside landscape could exist. Let us imagine a small station nestled in the mountains at dusk. The spell I cast was, at dusk, a small mountain station is illuminated by lights, and a few passengers are waiting in the station's waiting room. A steam locomotive pulling old passenger cars arrives. This created a pleasant ambience, though the passenger cars could be older for added authenticity. The locomotive's deflectors had a unique Montetsu-style design, which could be considered charming. Now, let's move to the quintessential snowy scenery. The atmosphere of a darkening winter station at dusk was well expressed. Changing the country yields a different result. This time, I envisioned India. Although I lacked deep knowledge of Indian railways, the resulting visuals seemed to transition appropriately into a seemingly Indian aesthetic. Lastly, what happens if we introduce an incongruous element like the sea? Adding the phrase, "nearby the station lies the vast open sea," to the spell yielded these results. While some images lacked the sea, the successful ones blended steep mountains and the ambience of a coastal station impressively. Inspired by the scenery in this video, I cast the following spell: a vast, mirror-like calm lake spreads out, and on the opposite shore, there is a railway track. A Japanese convex diesel locomotive, painted in red and gray with white stripes, hauls a long container freight train. Its reflection appears on the mirror-like lake surface, and far in the distance, faint blue mountains are visible. Although the train did not end up running horizontally along the far side of the lake, the images generated had a lovely atmosphere. The convex shape was ignored, but the paint scheme was faithfully reflected in the outcome. However, the humor lies in the locomotive blowing smoke despite being equipped with pantographs. Next, I changed the spell to specify two-axle freight cars and a triple-header formation of freight steam locomotives. While the triple-header aspect was ignored, the resulting images still carried a very nice atmosphere. The spell triple header itself didn't work, so I added a more detailed emphasis on 3 locomotives. The result was mixed. Images where double-header formations somewhat succeeded, images with freight car positions out of place, and some where 3 locomotives appeared, though one seemed to be embedded into another, breaking the structure. Then, I cast this spell: a vast, mirror-like calm lake spreads out. On the far side lies a railway track, where 3 freight-specific large Japanese steam locomotives in a triple-header formation haul a long train made up of two-axle freight cars. Their reflection is visible on the mirror-like lake surface, with faint blue mountains in the far distance. Since the triple-header spell did not work, I simplified it to double-header locomotives and added snow to the scenery. While the double-header formation also didn't fully work, the scenery transformed beautifully, with the distant mountains becoming snow-capped. Next, I envisioned the bustling commute of a metropolis. I imagined a crowded platform filled with commuters rushing towards an EMU. The resulting visuals successfully captured a nice atmosphere. Then, I cast a similar spell, but with a non-electrified setting. Diesel vehicles appeared, though the commuter DMUs lacked the desired feel, and even a DD51-like lead vehicle showed up. I cast another spell to increase the smoke, aiming for a smoky atmosphere. While some images displayed more smoke, they also notably increased the number of people. The vehicles became commuter DMUs with no pantographs, fitting the theme better. I then focused on a scene of departure from the station. Here, the visuals successfully conveyed the vigor of smoke billowing and the power of movement, though the smoke only emitted from the lead car. The DD51-like features returned, high-cab vehicles appeared, and various hallucinations blended into the mix, creating a fascinating array of imaginative visuals. Let us imagine a scene no longer seen today: the loading of freight trains onto ferries along a connecting route. Setting the stage as Aomori Station on the Seikan route, I cast the spell. As usual, the locomotive conjured was the bizarre DD51-like design, but with the combination of ships and locomotives present. Due to the influence of the Seikan Tunnel, some scenes even included the tunnel in the background. Changing the locomotive to red and setting the station to Hakodate Station yielded this result. The color was modified, and it seemed more fitting, but the atmosphere of loading freight onto the ship was not achieved. What about the Yuko route? Using the same spell but changing the location to Uno Station produced these results. Strangely, many images lacked nearby ships. Next, casting the spell for Takamatsu Station brought forth better results, with ships appearing and a scene capturing the essence of freight cars being loaded. Let us try something different, like a blizzard. The resulting images beautifully captured the winter atmosphere. Finally, while the scene of freight cars being loaded onto ships was included, various hallucinations mingled in the visuals. Another long-lost railway scene from the distant past involves night trains. In the past, many night trains, from long-distance local trains to sleeper limited expresses, operated throughout Japan. However, rationalization and the push for high-speed services have almost entirely phased them out. Imagining the sight of a blue train sleeper limited express hauled by a red diesel locomotive passing through a dimly lit rural station late at night, I cast the spell. It seems the spell mentioning blue train had a unique effect, turning even the locomotive partially blue or merging locomotives with passenger cars into strange hybrid vehicles, a terrifying spell indeed. While the vehicles had an eerie quality, the visuals were quite fascinating. However, for a rural station without passenger services in the middle of the night, the scene appeared too brightly lit. Modifying the spell to create a darker station reduced the station's lighting significantly, producing a better ambience. However, the passenger cars' interiors remained brightly lit. Casting a spell to dim the interior lights led to this result. Though not perfect, the darker interiors enhanced the feeling of a true night train. Imagining scenes frequently depicted in the movie Always, Sunset on 3rd Street, a portrayal of Tokyo in the early Showa 30s, I cast a spell envisioning the Tokyo Tower under construction in the setting sun, streetcars running along roads that were not yet congested with cars. As expected, the sky tree made an appearance instead, but the vehicles were appropriately old-fashioned, resulting in some fantastic visuals. Perhaps, far in the future, a movie similar to Always, Sunset on 3rd Street could be made with the sky tree and the sunset as the backdrop. Viewing these imagined images might lead some to think, what absurd visuals! How ridiculous! Yet, they may also feel captivated by something in them. In recent years, with the awarding of the Nobel Prize to quantum theory-related works, there has been an increase in stories about parallel worlds, alternate dimensions, or even the afterlife. AI image generation offers a mysterious visual experience, almost like glimpsing into a possible parallel world. AI-generated images possess an atmosphere that instinctively draws human eyes, reducing the sense of artificiality typically associated with composite images. When amateurs attempt to create CG images, they often struggle with the immediate feeling of incongruity or unnaturalness. What differentiates these AI-generated images from those? In AI-generated images, upon closer inspection, numerous impossibilities and discrepancies, things utterly divergent from reality, can be found in various objects. Yet, when viewed as a whole, these elements blend in mysteriously, making them less noticeable. Even these imaginative images, laden with fantastical elements, may be easily accepted by the majority of people who aren't specifically interested in railways as scenes that could exist in reality. Perhaps this acceptance is due to the AI's ability to naturally replicate physical phenomena related to light, which the human visual information processing system, our most advanced sensory ability, responds to most intuitively and sensitively. The realistic rendering of everyday occurrences such as shadows of objects, light reflections, mirrored surfaces, and hazy gradients may be why these images are so captivating to the human eye. For someone with some knowledge of railways, AI-generated railway landscapes may appear eerie or bizarre. While it's enjoyable to laugh and marvel at the visuals created through spells cast to the AI, there's a desire, at least for the vehicles, to be somewhat closer to actual models. For instance, if the word Shinkansen in a spell can conjure a 700 series lookalike, linking the word Shinkansen to the 0 series train in the system could make it so that simply casting the spell Shinkansen results in visuals featuring 0 series lookalikes. If the AI were trained to produce visuals corresponding to specific spells, this wish could easily be granted. However, unless you make a significant monetary offering to the AI deity that resides above the clouds of the Google empire, such whims of the common folk may not be entertained. For now, those of us with limited means must rely on the benevolent AI, who fulfills wishes for just the cost of electricity. Both the AI and the spellcasters would need to undergo considerable training, but if they can endure it, we could create new humorous landscapes, far richer in vehicle variety, beyond the current AI-generated railway sceneries.